be cringe, be weird, let people in because that content is always going to be what performs. It's the sales copy that performs is the one where someone's like, hey, this is a beta program and I actually don't know what I'm doing, but I'd love for you to be on, like honesty really does sell. And that perfect, polished, like I am an expert in my field is just you're not seeing that as much. And it's just because we're craving human. So be as human as you can in everything that you're putting out there.
Hi, travel creators. I'm Laura. And if you haven't heard my voice before, you're one of the lucky ones. I'm just kidding. But I am a content developer for travel creators. And I'm so excited to introduce you to Lucy. She is a verbal strategist. Yep. And she's freaking amazing at it, and she has some incredible advice for you. So grab a little notepad, go outside on a walk, get your little bevy or two, and get ready for a couple mic drops. Okay, enough from me. Here's Lucy.
So I am Lucy, and I am the verbal strategist and also the founder of My Right Hand Woman. I have been running this business for about 4 years from a million different countries because I'm also working completely remotely. Call it a digital nomad. That term always feels a little 2010 to me, but here we are. And one of my favorite things to do is marry my business life with my travel life and starting different companies, helping other people start companies that they are passionate about. And I also have my own podcast. So you can definitely call me a multi-passionate, and I'm really excited to dig into all of those different sides today.
That was amazing. That was probably the best guest intro we've ever had. So 5 stars.
Wow. I'm watching the Olympics now. So my inner Olympian wants to be the best. So thank you. what a way
Gold
to
start
the
gold
conversation.
Medal.
Yeah.
Yes. Gold medal on all the fronts for that. That was awesome. Wow. A verbal strategist is a word I've never heard before, but I love it because especially if people are like, this is a random tangent, but especially if people are on like the marketing side of the internet or have some type of experience in that, they're like, oh, content strategy, whatever. But yours is so cool because it's so specific. It's so specific. And like, I'm a verbal strategist. Like, whoa, holy cow. I think it just gives more like power to the words that we use to talk about ourselves or talk about things. It's awesome.
Yes. And titles are so hard. I'm sure anyone who is running their own thing, especially if you're someone who's good at a lot of things, I think it took a lot of showers for me to figure out that title. But yes, I am so passionate about helping other people communicate holistically and make it so that whatever they're doing just sounds really sexy. So more people take action and buy it because there's a lot of noise on the internet and just putting your stuff out there and saying, buy my stuff doesn't work.
Unfortunately, we wish.
I wish it did.
We wish it
I wish
did.
I could get on stories once and be like, buy my thing. Thank you.
Oh, God, I know. This makes me think like when we're talking about content, like you see a lot of content and a lot of copy from places. When you are reading things, and maybe these are like clients who you haven't started working with yet, but they're just new. They're like, I know I need you. Here I am. And you're looking at their copy. What are some things you're like, wow, this is really bad. This is just immediately like sticking out. They do not know what they're doing. What are those? I don't know if they're red flags, but just like, wow, this is a bad piece of copy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always like to approach it from a lens of love, especially if they're planning on hiring me. I think I always like to kind of equate it to if you went to an orthopedic surgeon with a bone hanging out of your arm and he was like, ooh, gross, like get that bone back in there. That would be so sassy. So that's why I always start there. Like if someone's planning on hiring me and their site is rough, like I will help you.
Right.
Don't feel embarrassed. But 100%, there are some clear copy red flags. And I think the first one I see is just straight up too many words. Oftentimes we will see people just put their entire life story onto their websites. There'll be no spacing. And when things are on a document, like a lot of words looks fine, but then you put it on a website and you think, I am overwhelmed. So that would be my first one. My second one is talking around the offer, saying things like, you're going to get Zoom calls, you're going to get workbooks. Those are really common things that we say because we think, okay, well, people want to know exactly what they're getting. But the truth is, people want to know how you can help them and how you can bring them closer to their transformation. They don't really care that they get an hour with you. Obviously, that's nice. And at some point, you want to tell them what they're actually buying. But I would say that's definitely further along in the buying process. And then I like to go in rules of three. So the third red flag, I think it's just being kind of corporate and bland. I mean, you can kind of see when people learned how to write from English class and never really were able to break out of that professional writing because copy really is meant to be a conversation. It's just on paper.
I love that. Copy is meant to be conversational and not just something that you would read in like 8th grade English class. Imagine if you showed up to somebody's website and it looked like that or it sounded like that. There's such a big difference between writing for the eyes versus writing for the ears, which is really important when you are repurposing content, but it's not all that we're talking about today. What Lucy is really getting at here is that people want the freaking dessert. They don't really care how you're doing what you're doing necessarily. So I feel like oftentimes we feel as though we have to write out this whole process step by step of what our clients or target audience is going to get from us, when in reality, they just want to know how they will feel once they get that thing. And another amazing woman with words that I had on this podcast is Alicia, and you should go listen to our episode because we basically talk about that entire topic. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I think it's so hard for people to realize that nobody really cares that much about them. Like when they're writing their copy,
It's such
like there's
reality.
that is not easy to hear. And because it seems so natural, it's like, hi, like I created this service for people to do this thing. And it's like, cool. I don't really care about you. I want to know about me and how you can help me. And like you can slap that somewhere else on your website, because I think it is like an important part of like, if I'm on somebody's website and they have an awesome service, I'm like, cool. If I'm considering hiring them, I want to know about them. I do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to know about them. I don't want to have to seek out the information about their service within their story. I want to read about their service and then I want to go seek out information about them, at least in my experience. And like you say, we have no attention span, so you have to be very clear and concise.
We're worse than goldfish.
Yeah, I read that. Okay, Lucy has a stat on her website. It's goldfish, their attention span is like 9 seconds, and humans are like less than that. It's 8 something.
Yeah. When I read that statistic, I was like, that's so sad. I need to put it on my website.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's true. And we don't want to waste any time telling people about ourselves right in the beginning. But I think that there is, of course, an important balance between talking about yourself versus talking about what you have to offer people. Do you feel like some people think that there's like a percentage of how much you should talk about yourself versus talk about your business? I feel if it's done well, you can do both at the same time. How do you feel about that? Or like, how much do you think we can talk about ourselves and our offer? Is there an answer? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a cocktail. And I think you like really hit the nail on the head about, can you do both at the same time? And I would say, of course. I think we're in the face era where you, as a founder of your business, people want to see you. They want to see you drinking coffee out of your weird mug and the way that you kind of nerd out about some of your hobbies, because that's what separates different products and different services is the people and the stories. And stories can be so persuasive. But I always like to say, like, when you're going to talk about yourself, make sure it's in context. So make sure it's actually in line with your brand. I'm not going to take people into the shower with me and they're going to watch me shave my legs, because that's like way too up close and personal for like what I'm trying to build. And it's just, but like someone else might. And it's not about like judging any one person for like how they tell their story, but it's just being really mindful about what is your brand voice, and how can you infuse yourself into the brand that you're cultivating for your career or your profession.
Okay. I have a different question that I thought of. Because we don't have a better term for digital nomad, okay? And I'm leaving it up to you, the verbal strategist, to figure that out and let me know.
Just at the end of this episode, yeah.
Yeah,
you have 30
no
minutes
pressure.
to go.
Email me. You have until the end of the day to figure that out. Just kidding. Yeah, we need something better. But because a lot of my target audience are travel creators who either this is content creation is their full-time business, or they are about to take the leap and make it their full-time business or income. And of course, a lot of them are the digital nomads who have no base. What have you learned about trying to, not necessarily trying, about running a business, being a digital nomad? I know that it is stupid hard and annoying, but I would love to know from you if there's anything else that, like, yeah, what have you learned from this process, or like biggest challenges, I suppose?
I think you have to set yourself up for success. I did the fast travel thing, and at this point, I'm just realistic. I will make my fast travel era be June and July because I know those are slow months for my business. And then when I'm in my intense period, which is usually like Q3 going into Q4 up until Black Friday, like I am hunkered down somewhere. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
just knowing your seasons and knowing your travel schedule so you don't put yourself in a position where you're trying to like see the Eiffel Tower and then jet set to Amsterdam and also get 3 client collaborations done because like truthfully it's just not going to happen. So I think that's like the number one tip. And the second thing is just not comparing yourself or your workflow to anyone else's. Like I'm up here working at 3 in the morning sometimes because I decided to spend a month in Korea, and like that's amazing. But if I look at other people's Instagram stories and see them going out on a Friday night and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm totally like succumbing to hustle culture. It's like, no, I just have an entirely different life. And if it works for me and I'm happy, like that's how I'm going to do it.
It's a lifelong battle, is what I've accepted. It is a
Yes.
lifelong trying to figure out this sort of balance of the guilt of sitting inside in a beautiful place versus being outside in a beautiful, like when I'm sitting inside in a beautiful place, I'm like, I want to be outside because it's awesome. But when I am outside, I'm like, I need to be or want to be doing my work. And it's like that is such a awesome thing, an awesome problem to have, because I love what I do and I love to be in these beautiful places, but it's brutal. It can be brutal. Oh my God. And yeah, it's hard because routine
Like the
is
FOMO is real.
the FOMO is real, but the productivity guilt is worse.
It's so hard and it's
So
so different too. I am not a routine person and like I'll admit that. I just kind of have a list of like things I want to do every single day and I
mhm.
just do it when I can. And I think it's like going back to it is what you were saying. Like we're not in one place and you just have to know yourself and work through those feelings of guilt. And also just realize that we're always going to be a little bit chaotic and things will get done and they'll just look different.
So true. I think I needed to hear that. Yeah, this is crazy. What are we doing? That's okay though. I think like one thing that's really been helpful to me, I learned years ago the times of day that I do my best work, and it is not from like 2 to 4 p.m. And so during that time, that's when I try and go outside or schedule a whatever outside away from my desk, because I know that my brain's just rotting sitting there and we're not helping anybody. And so that has been like monumental. Are there times I have to sit down and work at 2 p.m.? Yes. But
Those
it isn't.
2:30 meetings.
Ah, this makes me think of your amazing episode on white space. Oh my gosh. That was amazing. Do you want to tell us, just describe white space to us?
Yeah. So if you're like me, you have a very colorful calendar that's color coordinated based on the types of things you're putting on it. So white space is space where you have nothing on your calendar. And I mean nothing. Not lunch, not a workout, not a coffee with a friend who's starting a business who wants to just chat with you. I mean
Oh,
nothing.
boo.
I'm coming for you guys. And the idea is white space is time for you to fill with whatever you need in that moment. It's not pre planned. So it can literally be a nap. It can be you with a whiteboard, just like creatively thinking about something. Or it could be you like literally wasting time scrolling. And I think we don't give ourselves enough permission to have white space because we don't trust ourselves to have free time. And we feel like filling up our calendar is just going to make us this amazing business owner, productive person. And so we keep doing it.
Holy cow. That was amazing. You're so right. We don't trust ourselves to do anything properly. I think I feel so strongly about white space similarly. Like, I think when we're in that really thick of work of, oh my gosh, there's so many deadlines, like so many projects that I really want to accomplish or that need me, it's so hard to think about, oh, I really want to take time off to go do this thing. It's so hard to think that could even be possible. And then when you do take that time off and you go away, that was the best thing that ever happened to me because you come back, and I just came back from doing that recently. And usually I get the little scaries of like, just scared to open my inboxes, several, and like see what's happening in there. And then this time, I don't know what happened, but we're riding that wave. I was like, I know it's going to be a lot, but it's fine. It is what it is. And I'm going to do it, just finish what I can finish. And that's what it is. But it's crazy how much like you realize when you go away what is really important. Because when you're in the thick of doing all the work, it's like everything is important. Or like everybody is going to become a priority if you don't choose your own priorities. And until you go away and come back, you're like, wow, actually, what's important to me is not clickety clacking on my computer forever. It's
Yeah.
spending time with my people or getting out of here. It's just like unbelievable the realizations you can have when you actually step away.
It's crazy. So I did earlier this year, I did 10 days in Antarctica, like totally off the grid. And
What?
it's like literally the first time I put my phone away for 10 whole days since starting my business 4 years ago. And I feel really fortunate. I have a team. So I like prepped them. I was like, yo, I'm going to Antarctica. I'll be with the penguins. See ya. And I remember just being like so detached from my business during those 10 days and it felt so good. And I had these killer breakthroughs that I had to write on printer paper because that's all I had. And it just goes to show that when you step back, like it really is true, you have to slow down to speed up. And then I got back to my business and I like held hands with everyone else on the boat and was like, I'm about to open my inbox, guys. Like, we need to have a group prayer. And they all had been off the grid too. And then literally I had 25 unread emails, a couple notes of like things that happened over the 10 days. And I was like, am I even needed like in my own business?
Wow.
And it goes to show that like the world's not going to blow up, especially, we're in marketing, we're in content creation. Like there's no emergencies in our industry.
Okay, I say that all the time, and I've never met
Oh
somebody
my
else who says
gosh.
that. That is
We have a
incredible.
soul connection.
I say that all the time to people. I'm like, listen, we work in marketing. Like, it's not that deep. It's fine. If the post was supposed to go out at 3 and now it goes out at 4, okay,
No one's going to
fine.
die.
Like, literally verbatim, you've stolen that's incredible. Yes, that's how I feel. Like, okay, we're not EMTs. This in the grand scheme is not that important. Like, it's fine. It's okay. That's amazing. I've noticed that too. We don't get our best creative ideas sitting in front of our computer, which sounds so counterintuitive. And you have to go away. You have to go away to get those good ideas. And I think also it can be really hard for travel creators specifically to do that because they are going to these beautiful places for one to experience it, but also probably to capture content, which is also their job. So I feel like that is hard to step away from, but I think we just have to be they have to be really intentional with their time. And it's okay, this is my content creation time is like on this Monday or from 10 to 4 or whatever. And after that, like I'm actually enjoying my place or enjoying what I'm doing. But it is amazing what can happen when you're not trying to do anything. Oh my gosh, the ideas, it's incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think everyone needs like off the grid time. I mean, even as a writer, like I have copywriting time for clients, but I still write poetry. I still write fiction when I'm off. And I think that's a really good parallel to travel content creation because, yeah, of course, you're going to have days where you have to capture everything, but also just taking trips for you and saying, like, on this trip, I don't even need anyone to know that I'm in Bermuda. Like, I'm just going to be in Bermuda. And I think that's, especially as a traveler, as a free spirit, which a lot of us are, like, we need that time to sit around and do nothing and not be accountable to anyone.
Yes, these are like things I say all the time that you can just host this show now. This is great.
Yeah, I'll be taking over from next week. We'll just switch podcasts.
Yeah, next week, Lucy will be here. I'm done. Goodbye. Now that you've all met the new host of the show, Lucy, let's take a second to reflect on some of her incredible advice. If you are listening to this and you are trying to be productive, meaning you're like taking a little break to listen to something that is educational, one, thank you, but two, stop and go force yourself to take a real break doing nothing. That is the hardest thing ever. And once you can make yourself do that, you'll feel so much better. Like, you will get so many more good ideas and so much clarity when you have space from the thing you're doing. It's less, but it's better. That's the aim. If you are traveling somewhere, your natural instinct is going to be to take the photo or the video or pose for the thing, because that's what's hardwired in your brain. One, because you like to do it, and two, because it's all that you've been doing forever and it feels like it's the thing you should be doing. And you can take that photo. I'm not necessarily saying you have to stop taking the photo, although that would be really freaking awesome. But maybe you just save this one for yourself, and maybe in future you can use it. But for now, you're going to snap the pic and you're going to go about the rest of your day like a normal human who isn't really a content creator. And then think about your bigger goals. And is this single photo, is it really worth me stopping my entire itinerary to take this photo because that's the photo that's going to get me to where I want to be? Probably not, because like Lucy and I mentioned, we work in marketing. It is not that deep. Okay, you had mentioned that you had outsourced help in your content. I would love to know how you feel like that has made a difference. I know, especially when you bring anybody onto your team, there is that period of I need to tell them what I want them to do or tell them my pain points. And there is that time of getting used to everything and the way you do things and all those things. But did you feel like the help was pretty immediate, or did you feel the relief of it was pretty immediate when in terms of outsourcing your content? How did that go?
Yeah. So outsourcing social media, as I'm sure everyone listening can relate to, is really tough because we tangle a lot of ourself with our social media. So the fact that someone's going to come in and start like messing with your Instagram for me was a mental mess, because I was like, but it's me and people are going to know it's not me anymore, because we're so used to our own style and how we do things. But it was something I was so resistant to outsource. I literally met someone who was a perfect fit. I brought her on for just 4 like client portfolio videos a month that I just wanted to be a little bit more polished. And then we just went up from there, and she just took on more and more. So it wasn't like I just handed her my Instagram overnight. In retrospect, I probably should have just handed her my Instagram overnight. But I think it's important to, whenever you're going to make a new hire, and this especially goes for content, is ask yourself, like, what am I actually struggling with? Where do I want more ROI versus where do I want more help to get my time out of it? And both are valid reasons. But if you don't know the issue or the problem that you're having and you're just trying to like hire because, ooh, like having a social media manager sounds cool, that's when you might start making hires that will hurt you instead of help you.
One piece of business advice I learned that has stuck with me forever is to build something and then get the heck out of it. Meaning, build the thing that you want to build and then find people to do it for you. You're not trying to hire to duplicate yourself or make more of you. Oftentimes we say, if there was just one more of me. We are hiring to replace ourselves. And no, when you get yourself out of your business or your creator content or whatever it is for you, you are not taking your voice and your brand out of it. Because if you have done the good hard work to set up a brand successfully, and I have podcast episodes on this, I recommend listening to my one with Andrea, as well as Alicia, as well as all of some random other ones I go off about this. I think in every single episode I talk about branding because it is just so important. But if you've done the good hard work to get yourself set up with a solid brand foundation, you can pass that off to anybody who is competent at marketing and copywriting and still do all of your digital marketing successfully. You also don't have to hire all of the things right away. Meaning, when somebody says, oh, you should hire someone, it doesn't mean you have to get rid of 100% all the time. You need to figure out, what can you get rid of? What are the things that you are doing right now that you do not need to be doing? Meaning, they are not requiring your expertise. Meaning, if it is not you who who is doing it, it won't be done like it should. And it can be really hard to get over the hump of, oh, but by the time I explain this to somebody else, I could have just done it myself. Well, if we all took that road, then you would really not make a lot of progress. Yeah, I always think, what are you doing that you don't need to be doing? And when I first started figuring out what I could outsource, I would just list down, here's everything that I was doing in a day. And then I would write down, I'd make like columns of what was it? Did I need to be doing it? And did I like it? Did I like what I was doing? Because some of the things that I didn't need to be doing, I did enjoy, which was interesting. But I'm glad that that went amazing. Do you feel like now it's been, like, so worth it? Like, do you feel like it's saved you time?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Saving time is one thing, but a really good social media manager or strategist or editor just makes your content so epic that
Mhm.
it's really easy to sign clients. I know now when people land on my Instagram and they need to hire someone to write a website or create their verbal brand voice, like I know that my content's going to do the talking. And I think that's such a powerful feeling, especially as you want to grow as a content creator, as you want to land bigger collaborations. And if you just know that your content is niche, it's just giving all of the things it
Mm.
needs to give, then you can just rest assured knowing that you've carved that out for yourself and you're really playing on a bigger stage than maybe you were if you were DIYing your content.
Totally. And I think you probably can relate to this. People sometimes worry of, like, how will somebody else actually sound like me in your own client work? What do you say to people who are about to work with you, or you're like reassuring them that, like, hey, I can understand your brand and not make it sound like I'm writing from my own perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally my job to like leave my voice at the door. So I try and do that to the best of my abilities.
Mhm.
And I have like different playlists for different clients, anything to get me into the headspace.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sound like you. I'm going to sound like your brand because I think that's a big misconception is I'm not trying to write like you. I'm trying to create a very intentional brand voice for what we're putting out there. So it's going to feel a little weird. The first time you write something, like the first time you write the story that I wrote about the story of your life, you're going to be like, that's weird. It's like she's using I like she's me, but she's writing my whole like vulnerable parts of my story. It's going to be just an exercise like anything, but you get used to it. And then you realize that the brand voice we created is actually so much stronger than you just showing up and writing whatever you're feeling.
I think in every single episode of this podcast, I scream about how important it is to have a good brand. And this is just one reason why, especially if you're going to outsource your content in any capacity, people need to know how the hell to talk about you. Actually, we're just little chameleons forming to all these people's thoughts
Yeah.
and everything like that. And like that is so hard to do. So, just a reminder that not everybody can do this because I talk to a lot of people who I feel like sometimes ideas, content ideas just come to me so naturally, or I see something and I'm like, you should just be sharing it in this way. And other people will be like, oh, I never even thought of that. And so this is a reminder that your creativity is not something that everybody has. And I didn't really think about that before. I don't
And
know.
that's the thing is like never sell that part of yourself short because there's some people that think creating content means putting a quote into Arial font and posting it with no strategy behind it. And again, a lens of love for those people because we're all just trying to make things work. But it's like you showing up and being like, hey, this is what's really performing right now. Here's how we're going to adapt it to your brand is brilliant. And it's important to package that brilliance and make sure you're charging for that brilliance. And I think a lot of the times as a creator, especially a creator who's maybe doing a million things, you're like, wait, but doesn't everybody know this? And it's like, no, not everybody knows this.
Yeah, totally. I'm so glad you brought up Arial font. I have been wanting to create an Instagram account for every time I see Comic Sans in places it shouldn't be. Like, once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. The trash company here, they use Comic Sans. There's like a Montessori school down the street, they use Comic Sans. Like all of these places using Comic Sans that should not
Comic
have.
Sans in the wild.
Yeah, they have no business using Comic Sans, none of it. My one of my sisters is a 3rd grade teacher, and I saw her email signature one day, and it was in Comic Sans, and I was like, "No, I don't even care if you're a 3rd grade teacher. This is the most appropriate place that you could be using that, but like,
Yeah. But
cannot.
still.
We cannot." If you have ever worked with clients or other brands who you're not working directly with their creative team or their marketing team, you probably notice that they have absolutely zero clue how long creative work takes. And we cannot forget this when we are creating our pricing. We are also creating our pricing based on how much value we are giving them and the speed at which you are doing it versus if this rando from some random brand who didn't really know much had to go and figure out how to do it on their own. You could obviously do it a lot faster and better than them because of your expertise. Especially as female content creators, this shit doesn't get really any easier until you get more confident, because then you can easily be like, nope, this is just not worth my time. It is literally not worth my time to do this for that price, because I know that somebody else who understands content creation and wants to take it seriously will pay that price. No matter where you start with your pricing will never be where you end up. And there are a million different iterations of it. And if you're any little bit Midwestern, it is so much worse. I'm like, hi, this is how much I charge. Sorry. No, but it does get better with practice. Say it to yourself in the mirror. Say it out loud, how much you charge for this thing. And eventually you'll believe yourself. Okay, this also brings me to a fun question I've been asking some people, taking straw polls, if you will, about Instagram, X. Instagram, you could replace that with any sort of social media, but we all have been on social media pages of businesses, people, whatever, and we're scrolling through and we're like, this was not done by somebody who knows what they're doing. This is just bad. Similar to kind of what I asked you about the copy.
Yeah.
What are things that you, when you're, let's say you were going to go hire a new social media manager or something like that, and you were looking at their own Instagram page to see what they do, what are some things you would look at and you're like, this is bad? For example, for me, it's like, okay, if you're putting an HTTPS backslash colon www dot in your Instagram caption, that's not, who do you think you are? Like, we can't do that.
We can't even click it.
Yeah. Or like, what are things you hate seeing on Instagram? We won't tell anyone you said this.
Just everyone who's listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, safe space. I think mine actually, I'm sure there's a bunch of like little detailed things that I just can't recall right now, like things that are not centered or whatever. But I think the biggest one I see where I'm like, this was done by someone who is a little more amateur is when I don't see nuance on Instagram, when I see a lot of black and white language, and then that leads to kind of mean girl marketing. When I read a caption and they're saying something like, oh my gosh, I'm like so blessed that I have the summer body of my dreams. And, someone can say that ironically, but usually when I see that, I think, oh, okay, they're probably not like plugged into the new bikini body is the body you have wearing a bikini. Like the idea of not keeping up with the conversation, the sociocultural climate, and just saying things that are very absolute, like, keeping to my example, like, do you want to lose 10 pounds by next month? Well, I have a new program. And I think it's stuff like that I'm just like, that's very chat GPT and I can see right through it.
I think people who say that you have to post every single day of the week in order to see any growth on social media are lying to you. And they're doing that because they don't have any other good advice to give you. And that is my piping hot take on things creators are saying or giving advice about that I think is stupid. Lately, interestingly enough, I've been chatting with a few creators who are saying that they have been posting less content and it's actually been doing better. And to that, I say, when quantity goes down, quality goes up. I think that's a really good one. I heard recently that perhaps one of the reasons why we can detect ChatGPT content so easily is because it lacks soul. It lacks a human, which is so cool. It makes you more valuable because people are like, I'm going to go hire Lucy to help me rather than slap it into AI. How do you feel about AI writing in general? Because some people ask me like, oh, are you nervous that it's going to ruin everything for you? And I'm like, not really. No. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends work in tech, and they joke that I think I'm the most like anti-AI person out there that's like public about my views. Um, but I mean, it's a tool, but I think we like think it's this god, and it's like maybe it'll get better. Like maybe it'll get better, and I'll be the first person it kills. Like, cool, we'll see if that happens. But as of right now, I really think it's a tool, and it can't take over jobs. It can just probably make you more efficient at yours. But I don't use AI at all unless I'm literally trying to find a pun on the word bagel. Like I'll use it for really specific things, but I find that when I have AI write a first draft of something, it takes me out of my creativity and into editing zone, and the copy's
Yeah.
just weaker. So I don't even do it when I'm in a client project. I start from blank.
Yeah, that is a really wow. Okay, you just said into words something that I didn't figure out what was happening when I would ask it to draft things. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to work from this draft. And then I'm like, actually, then I just stop looking at the draft and just do
Yeah.
what I need to do anyway. Cause I'm like, this
You're
is,
better off just rambling onto a
this
blank
is
document and then distilling it.
stupid. I, but once again, it's hard if people don't have writing skills. Oh my God. I could see how it could be helpful. But the same problem we come back to is it's not necessarily going to connect with their target audience because it wasn't written by you, but like you don't know any better.
No, and it's tough. There's always going to be things that we're not great at as a business owner, and we don't have unlimited funds. And it's just asking ourselves, what are we comfortable with using AI for versus what are we not? And I'm a big believer in like, if it works, use it, but also you can really do your brand a lot of damage by not focusing on your messaging because as soon as people get turned off by what you're trying to say, they stop listening. And it's really hard to get people back into your corner after they've decided that, your corner is just not for them.
As promised, here's my information on why I think you should continue to post on brand content. One, if you post off brand content, people are going to be so confused. They showed up to learn about luxury travel, and now you are literally packing your 8th grade suitcase to go on Ryanair. Make that make sense. Need I say more? I saw a stat, it was like 6% of people see your social media content, 6% of your followers, I believe. So, like, nobody. And so we have to keep reiterating to them what you actually do or what's important. And I don't want to take the chance of my followers seeing the off brand post or the post they actually see being an off brand one versus something that like would actually help me reach who I'm trying to reach. So I'm having a weird battles in my mind of posting do whatever you want versus posting on brand. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like it's really hard to be on brand all the time. Like I literally just posted a video of me making a pancake in the microwave and completely failing. And so many people reached out to me and they were like, this is just funny. And did it give me any clients? No. But did it give people laughs? Yes. So I
Yeah.
think I think it's a matter of being intentional with what you're posting. People are going to make so many judgments about you based on every post you do. And that's just like reality. And if we focus on those judgments, we're never going to post anything. But I think it's important to ask yourself if I saw this one post for me, like what would that person think about me and my brand? And is it at least in line with my values? Even if
Mhm.
maybe I'm a travel creator and I'm posting about beauty or something like that. And let's say my travel content is quite unfiltered. And then it's like I do this beauty one where I'm like using the filter and I put on a full face of makeup and I'm like, this is my 5 minute face. Is that in line with my values? I would argue no, because it's different than your travel content. But if you're just like, hey, I'm in a basement in Prague and I'm about to go out, get ready with me. I'm not going to have light as I put on my makeup. Totally. Like that might not be technically on brand, but it's like within line of your values of chaotic, unfiltered travel.
I think that in the best way possible, I love to see people having a hard time like through traveling like that. It's just the most entertaining content. I feel as though I've been in so many horrible travel situations that I can say that, but it makes me feel like I know that person too, for sure. And then it's, oh, cool. Here's how you responded to this otherwise like not ideal situation. But it does. It makes you get to know people more and quickly decide what you think about them in terms of do I want to see more from them rather than like you say, judging them from one single piece of content, but it'll let me know if I want to stick around on their page or not. I hate to say it, but Lucy's right. People on the internet will immediately think things about you, but you have to want to help people more than you care about what people say. And that can be really hard to get over. This is a hard part of marketing because people only have a few seconds to make really critical decisions about you and what you're saying. And there can feel like there's a lot of pressure on what you're wearing or what you look like and the actual piece of content you're talking about. But if people are a little bit intrigued, they will go and wander on your page to learn more and then further go down the question of, do I really like this person or not really? But the second side of this double-edged sword is that, like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. I mean, it's important to take yourself seriously, but also not at the same time, especially when creating content, because people on the internet are consuming such high quantities of content that they're not going to remember that you're wearing a sweatshirt from your sister's college tennis team. So just keep posting what you're doing. Stay the course, because the people who mind won't matter, and the people who matter won't mind. Tell me about mean girl marketing. I wrote that down. I need to know.
Mean girl marketing is making people feel horrible about themselves to buy your thing. That's how I describe it. And I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It doesn't actually make me buy anything because I just feel terrible about myself. And then I want to like solve the problem using anyone but you. And it just isn't nice.
Yes.
Hence the name. So I think when it comes to mean girl marketing, it's like we're always taught you have to solve problems to make people want to stick around. But I like to ask, how can you call your people up as opposed to calling them out and go from there?
Calling people up versus calling people out. I think that is such a powerful statement. And it made me immediately think of some of the hooks that are used in the travel space. Like, for instance, something like, you're not an international traveler if you don't have X, or you can't call yourself a travel creator if you haven't done Y. Like, those kinds of things I understand are clickbaity and it is a good hook. But is it really something, one, we would say to someone in real life? Because that's kind of fucking weird. And two, is it nice? Is it nice? Why? If you're that good at what you do, you can think of something else. I like to believe that the creators who are using these kinds of hooks are not necessarily doing it intentionally to make people feel bad, but it is just a little food for thought to take a little step back and play devil's advocate if you want to when you are writing your next hooks. Is there anything else you feel like, I need to say this to say my piece today and I will feel good? Can be about anything.
Oh man, I love it. Open mic. I think the number one thing is, since we're kind of on the topic of content and messaging and your voice, is just, again, going back to the fact that everyone is going to judge you. And I think it's so important to just be one with that and put things out there that you want to put out there. You don't have to be provocative for the sake of getting attention or being controversial or getting growth on Instagram, but just for your own sanity and growth and wanting to build your creator business as authentically as you can is just like,
yeah. Wow. That's so true. Because you do connect more with people who are like posting raw, not always edited things. And I think some people are nervous of the fact that people will think some things about them. And it's like, I always tell people, so many things on the internet. There were so many things on the internet. Nobody's going to remember necessarily what you looked like that day or what you did or didn't do. Like, you're not creating content that's going to change the world at this moment. And so don't act like you are. Like, don't put the pressure on yourself like you are. Like, just post a thing. The first thing you post is going to be horrible no matter what. It can only get better from there, which are good reminders. That was really good. That was a really good reminder. Where are you traveling next? Do you know?
Yes, my fall is murky, but my next trip I'll be in Denmark for a week. And then I am doing another off the grid adventure. I'm trying to do 2 a year where I'm doing 10 days in Mongolia.
Okay. Wait a second. Denmark is. Are you going to Copenhagen?
Yeah,
Okay. It's my favorite city in the world. I won't shut up about
me
it.
too. I love Copenhagen. I think it's my fourth time there.
Oh my God. Yeah, just eat a Wednesday snail for me. Go to like St. Peter's Bakery and get the snails for me. That would be amazing. That's amazing. Mongolia. Holy cow. Very different. What
So
are you doing
different.
there?
I think I'm literally staying with families and driving across the country and going to the Eagle Festival. So I don't really know. I got a packing list that basically had everything under the sun on it, which meant prepare for anything.
Oh
So I'm
no.
just going to show up.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. I love that. I love just showing up and letting somebody else or something else plan that. And you're like, here I am with all of my clothing since you weren't so
With
specific.
my maxi skirt. So let's go.
Yeah. My maxi skirt and my parka. Here I am,
Yeah.
ready. Wow. What will the weather be like there then? Do you know?
It's just so unpredictable. Like it's definitely a
Okay.
more nature trip. So it could be, I guess, like anything from snow to blistering heat.
That is going to be insane. Holy cow. Wow. I don't know anyone who's been. That's not true. I was going to say I don't know anyone who's been to Mongolia, but that's not true. But I don't. It's just like not a lot of people visit there. So that is incredible. I'm going to need you to share about that in some capacity so I can be nosy and see what you got up to. That would be appreciated. Amazing. I am so excited to share this episode with so many people who listen. I think there are so many good nuggets in here, and I learned a lot. And I can't wait to pull it all out and repurpose it again in future times. So thank you. That was so fun.
Yeah, that was so fun. I have to say that conversation spanned everything. I expected nothing less. We really hit the spectrum.
The tangents always happen, and that's the best part. I didn't expect to talk about Comic Sans or
Papyrus.
papyrus. If anyone listening doesn't know what papyrus is, just enjoy the time and space now that you don't know what it is, and then go and Google it. Because once you
Yeah.
see it, and now you
won't
know,
unsee it.
you will never not know. So live in this space of not knowing. Amazing. Okay. Wow. What an incredible episode with Lucy. I can't even believe it. I've been obsessed with her podcast, The Bold Founder, since it literally became a thing, and I highly recommend you go and listen to it as well. In other news, I have been living in a rooftop tent on my SUV for the past little bit, and things were going bad. We didn't really have an organization system, meaning that the car was organized for transporting goods and services, but it was not good to live out of because things move around and it was a shit show, and I can't even believe we even made it this far. So we came to my family's home and we rebuilt the whole damn thing, and now it is so much better, and we are heading west, and that's all I need to hear, just chasing eternal summer. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing there, I am working on some super secret things that now are not so secret because I'm telling you about them, but they will be out soon into the world, and you can follow along with what the heck we're doing, minding our business, in a piece of fabric on top of an SUV. I'm wishing you the happiest of creating this week, and I hope you are somewhere where the sun is shining. I'll see you soon.
If you are trying to create a straight path, it's almost impossible to have both. You're not going to be able to be bold and also take a straight path. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision. It's choosing every single day, okay, I am going to show up as me. I'm going to speak my mind in every little detail of my day. So when the big things happen, I can be bold. Welcome to The Bold Founder. I'm Lucy Badawi, your host, founder of My Right Hand Woman, which is a messaging and copywriting studio. I also started and sold my content writing agency, Volcanic Content, in under 1 year and worked on a startup in the travel tech space for a year. My founder experience touches a lot of industries, and I love bringing them together to give you the best of each world. This podcast is for you if you want to go bigger in your marketing, messaging, mindset, and moves while finding the happy medium between flow and hustle. And this podcast is not for you if you want to work a 4-hour work week and make millions, or conversely, if you think you need to grind and be something specific to make it. This podcast is going to prioritize action, but we're going to deliver it in a too real, hopefully funny, and grounded way.
Why is the word founder such an important distinction? What does it do for you to claim that?
If you started something that has the potential to become something outside of you, or even if you started something, even if it's a service-based business and you have frameworks and processes and things that are more than just your expertise, you started a company, you started a business, you are a founder. Whatever the word you want to use is, that's the title. Everything we discuss will have one goal: inspire you to make bolder moves, expand your vision, and amplify your impact.
It's your responsibility as a founder to build your home in a way that's sustainable for you. A lot of that is the people that you let into your home and you allow to stay in your home long term. And it's the hardest thing to do, but it is what will give you as a founder the real freedom.
If you want more of me, feel free to follow me on Instagram at lucy.bedewi. I will spell my last name, Lucy, Lucy.bedewi, Bedewi. And if you are here for the messaging and marketing tips, you will want to head to myrighthandwoman.com or myrighthandwoman on Instagram, right spelled like writing, to follow the studio. New episodes are going to come out a couple times a month, and I will see you in there.
I love it. Bold founders. I feel like we need like taglines like us.
Yeah, what's going to be our outro?
Yeah. See you later, medicators.
Stay bold. Don't get mold in your house.
Yeah.
Okay.